Hello out there, and welcome to today's Wednesday Search Engine Journal webinar. Sorry, excuse me. I'm super excited
Mhm.
for today's webinar. With me, I have Brent Csutoras, who is our very own managing partner and co-owner. Brent, you are on the other side, and it's been a minute since you've been a guest. We're here to talk about Reddit, and so welcome to today's webinar.
Absolutely. It's definitely been a minute since I've been on this side of the stage on the webinar, but definitely excited to talk about Reddit. I've been talking about Reddit for about 18 years. I guess I'll give a little kind of introduction about myself real quick. So I've been on Reddit since 2006. I moved to San Francisco, fell in love with social media, saw Dig, Reddit, Stumble Upon, a lot of these companies kind of growing up. At that time, they weren't big. So I emailed Alexis to say, hey, I love your site. And he's like, that's awesome. We should hang out. And we did. So we started hanging out and running around and, eating tacos and talking about, Reddit. And we would talk about, different aspects of SEO. This was back in, people might not know it, but lipstick.com was the test run for Reddit, so back when, those were all kind of in testing. And back when Bread Pig, was Alexis's air guitar band where they would do rock band without turning the sound on, and so I've been involved with Reddit for 18 years. I absolutely have been a massive fan of the community, a massive fan of the site the whole time. And not because of any other reason than I always felt like they did it better. And I felt like they were more authentic than any other place. And so even when my son was born, Alexis made my son, that's a picture of him there, the first baby Redditor. And so I've been involved all along, love it, and can't wait to talk more about Reddit today.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're going to get to it. I'm going to go through some quick housekeeping. That way you can get to it. When we get to the Q&A, first of all, I see the chat blowing up. Thank you for letting us know where you are coming in from today. Love to see it. So keep sending those as you come in. We're going to do Q&A at the end of the presentation like we always do, but we do have a couple special guests. We have Leah, Director of Mid-Market Sales, and Chris, who is the lead for large customer sales, both from Reddit. And so they're joining us for the Q&A today. So super excited for that. I didn't introduce myself. I am the moderator. I am Heather. And if you haven't been here with us before, I run the marketing team here at SEJ. And I've got Jonathan in the background. He's going to be helping if you need anything from a technical perspective. I'm going to go through some housekeeping real quick. If you need closed captioning, it's the little CC in the top right of your screen. Give that a click. We are going to do Q&A at the end. So if you have a question for the Reddit team or for Brent, leave that in the Q&A tab. If you see something you like, give it a little thumbs up. That little upvote tells us it's important to more of you out there, and we will do our best to front load those. Before you leave today's call, we ask if you can stick around for our post-webinar survey. It takes just a couple seconds and lets us know how today's event went for you, how we can make them better in the future. And question we receive most is, yes, you will receive the recording and the slides in your inbox when it's done buffering. So watch your inbox for that. That's enough for me. Brent, they're here for you. So I'm going to go. I'll be back at the Q&A.
Awesome. First off, thank you all for joining. It's really a pleasure to be able to talk with you about something that I'm just genuinely so passionate about. And if you notice I'm a little bright, it's because it's dark around here. The reality is I'm in Florida and we have massive thunderstorms. So hopefully I'm not going to lose power and we'll get through this. I'm also going to go a little fast because I'm really thankful to Leah and Chris for joining. It's always great to have people that, have spent the amount of time that they have at Reddit. Both of them have been at Reddit for a long time. They have a lot of experience, a lot of background, and they're truly Redditors. So to have them here to be able to, answer your questions, I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to talk with them. And I'm happy to, answer any of your questions as well. But I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as I can. I mean, why are we here, right? Obviously, we're hearing a lot about Reddit. You're here because you've heard about Reddit growing and the influence it's had, all the new statistics out there, both as a community that can really solve user queries effectively, but also from the standpoint of just growing and visibility within search. We're seeing a huge growth there. And let's take a look at, I'm going to use my mouse, sorry. Reddit is growing extremely fast right now. I mean, I feel like Reddit's always been growing. I've been speaking about Reddit for 18 years now, and I've been saying Reddit's always consistently growing. It's always consistently growing. But I mean, they've jumped up to 83 million, daily unique visits. They've got 306 million weekly average visits. 500 million users, and I don't have the charts here because it's just a lot. I didn't want to spend the time, but I mean, Reddit's now really pushing to be close to the biggest community you can possibly be on. They're bigger than Facebook. They're getting more traffic than any other social sites, and it's just really something impressive to see. And they're, 37% year over year growth is just phenomenal. I mean, you're seeing this huge growth. And on top of that, it's across 100,000 active communities, which is, really impressive. And the coolest thing I've seen recently is that a lot of times I would speak internationally in Germany or England or, in Canada, and people would say, well, Reddit is really a US site, right? And I would say, well, yeah, that's kind of true. Like the vast majority of the content's from the US. And that used to be a kind of a factor that would turn people off. But there has been a massive push from Reddit to really grow their international presence and to grow their audience. And they are now 50% non-US. I think actually slightly 50 point something over. But it's super impressive. And if that gives you a sense at the opportunity has only grown. But why Reddit? Like, why are we in a situation where Reddit's the one to kind of drive upward? Why is Reddit being so successful? And the real reason is that Reddit is solving a problem that I think most people are experiencing, whether we really want to admit it or not, whether we really like that it's going in whatever direction it's going. The problem is we have too much content and not enough answers. We've gotten really good at figuring out how to get content visible. We've gotten really good at, I don't want to call not manipulating, but working through the system to get our content presence. But the reality is, for a lot of people, is that there's a lot of low quality content, and this is acknowledged by most of the platforms as well, is that all the efforts that have been made to really improve the quality of content, it's ultimately just not there. It's just not happening. And the experience that I'm hearing from more and more people is that I really don't like the experience of using search. I'd rather take information that's more risky, or even take something that's maybe not as accurate on ChatGPT than I am to go through a searching experience, right? Articles and reviews are not as helpful anymore. I mean, I've gone recently to try to search for things, and I love Wirecutter. They do a great job. But outside of Wirecutter, I look at reviews and I'm like, what? They're only the main items. What about the other ones? I know there's another brand that I've heard about, but it's not included. And are these reviews, if they're not paid for, are they biased, or do the reviewers really care if they're getting the right information or digging that deep? Or are they just creating content because you've got 100 top 10 mattresses to buy in 2024 and people don't feel confident in that anymore, or they're just not going deep enough, right? You get into it and you're like, okay, well, that's enough to get me started. But searchers are having to make multiple different searches and go through a lot of work in order to get to a point where they have some sort of an answer. And then that answer doesn't always go deep enough, right? And so they're having to, and this is something that Google announced, referenced in the recent Google I/O. They said, look, we understand that people are searching a ton to get through to the end of their search query. And that's what they said they wanted to launch SGE4, right? That the purpose was to try to do that research for you and give you something that was more usable, more effective immediately, right? So searchers are using, having to search a lot. And the ultimate end result is that they're really finding the answer to their queries on Reddit. I mean, when have you ever seen a situation where Google has outsourced query resolution to a third party? Reddit is literally solving all of these queries, and we're getting to a little bit more of why, but it's really, really impressive to see. And, Reddit's been in search results for a long time. This is not the beginning of Reddit showing up. It's not like they just popped in. They've been showing up for a long period of time, but there's definitely a huge jump when you look at some of the changes that started about 2 years ago. In 2022, we had the helpful content update, which was really the whole concept was if content is helping you solve your query, then we're going to reward it. And if it's not, then it's going to not be rewarded, right? Well, Reddit has, really been so good at solving those queries that they saw a huge in 2022. And then in 2023, Perplexity, which was still growing, they added a Reddit only feature. So now you can go to Perplexity and you can put only search Reddit, but you can ask it an LLM-based question and you'll get a summary, but it's only pulling that information from Reddit, which allows you to kind of summarize a lot of Reddit's content by using what that community has created, right? So Perplexity, I believe, is really driving up a lot of the traffic to Reddit right now. I don't have specific numbers, but there's some third-party reporting that hints that it's like close to 3 or 4 or 5% of their traffic. So Perplexity is driving a ton of traffic as well. Then the hidden gems was kind of like the update of the helpful content, and that added discussions and forums to the search queries, right? That's when you really started seeing Reddit popping up almost all the time in that result. Sometimes you see Quora, sometimes you see like Apple when it's tech related stuff. So you do see other forums in there, but Reddit's really the lion's share of that. Then you have the fact that Google signed a deal with them this year for $60 million. With Reddit to basically have real-time access to the content and to also be able to use that content for training future AI models. And that was a huge one for us. We were like, oh my God, okay, so if we're looking to the future and user queries are being solved on Reddit super successfully to the point that Google's willing to send this much traffic to Reddit and that Perplexity is including them, and now they're signing a deal with them, and then OpenAI says we want to do a deal to include Reddit content and learn from that content, what you're really seeing is the kind of the initial signs of what the future landscape could look like and what user journey solutions look like. People want to talk to other people. They want to have a really good kind of growth. And this has been increasing Reddit's popularity. The thing is that the more users are finding Reddit content, then they go in there and they find the solution in Reddit. Now they started adding Reddit to all of the queries. So there's a huge thing where everybody, if you start looking at the Google suggest queries, you'll start to notice every query you put in, there's one in there that's got a Reddit at the end. Well, that's because people are adding Reddit so much to the end of their search queries because they want to force Reddit results. They want to use Google's, interface in order to basically find content on Reddit because they know that's going to solve their query better than anywhere else. And that's the Google trends down there. So you can see there's just this massive growth in popularity, not only in traffic. Perplexity adds that Reddit feature. That only increases the popularity because now you can use their search engine to, basically interact with Reddit. And I see the comments in there. Not only that, but I would argue that there's some numbers out there that are starting to say they might overtake completely. The entire search query resolution might end up happening on Reddit. I can't foresee the future, and it's crazy to bet on that, but I will say that I could see a world where Reddit is the new Google. I could see a world where you're solving your queries on Reddit, maybe through some AI interface, but still from Reddit, and you're sharing that as an equal space. I mean, we'll have to see where things go. It's crazy to get too far ahead, but I will say you definitely are seeing an increase in Reddit content on Google, and you're going to see that trend continue. But, what's the best way to succeed, right? Oh, I think we're going to first go into our first poll. Heather, do you want me to just read this? I don't know. Sometimes we always say like the moderator will jump in, but
I got it. I just launched that. That should pop out for people. If it doesn't, you can click the polls tab to see it. Let me max that so we can see. So are you on Reddit today?
Are you or your brand on Reddit today? And I have the fun one, like, what the hell's Reddit? Are we talking, what's Reddit again?
I like the yup at the bottom. Oh, 50%. We've got 50% saying, yep, they are definitely on it. 31% saying don't have an account. 17% saying I have an account, I think.
Awesome. All right, so let's roll on. Oh, yeah, that is pretty fun. It just updated for me. I didn't see it for a second. All right, so let's drive forward. We'll keep on going. So look, if I haven't made the case for Reddit yet, like, I don't know that I'm going to make the case for you. And I don't think that I'm really need to make the case. You're obviously here because you know that there's a shift occurring, right? But let's talk about how you're successful with Reddit, because honestly speaking, the first thing I tell anyone when I'm consulting or working with clients that want to get on Reddit is the worst thing you can do is mess up your first impression on Reddit, right? It's really important that you understand what Reddit really is, because a lot of people are like, oh, Reddit, it's just another social media network, right? Let's go there like we do Facebook. Well, Reddit is not a social media site. It's really important to understand this. Reddit is not like a social media site like a social media site. Content sharing platform is really what Reddit is, it's user created subreddits which they, are communities. And it's important to note that each one of these subreddits is its own community, its own tone, its own culture, its own rules, its own everything. Imagine that every one of these communities is like walking into a town hall in your local town, right? How are you gonna, you can't expect every community to operate the same. Reddit is a content sharing platform that allows you as users to create subreddits that allow you to have your own social community on the platform. And then it ties it all together for you. It's topic, not people focused. I think that's a really big thing to understand. People ask all the time, like, okay, we'll do influencer marketing on Reddit. That doesn't really work, right? People have some exposure. There are people on Reddit. There's, Bill Gates and there's other people, but it doesn't matter about the person. It matters about what they are doing and what they are saying. And it's really topic focused. And that's unlike any other social media platform. Users are genuinely anonymous. And this isn't something that's like a weird thing about it. This is how it has always been intended. Anonymous users are more willing to openly talk freely and so forth. There's a subreddit I absolutely love that I always follow. It's called Am I the Asshole? Right? And if you're not sure and you're kind of like, am I the jerk in this situation? Then you can write up the whole story and you can post it. But not everybody's going to do that if they all know who everybody is, right? So it's really important to kind of see that, like, it's okay to be anonymous and it's kind of valuable to be anonymous on Reddit. So, really remember that. The other thing I think you really need to understand the distinction is that moderators are not admins, and admins, although they can be moderators, are typically not, necessarily always moderators, right? Admins are employees at Reddit. Moderators are not employees. They're users that are managing subreddits. They're, separate. Now, the reason you care about that is that when you have problems, you're going to start going to moderators and asking them questions that you'd want to ask an admin. And half of the messages I get as a moderator is about things that are like, how do I, get unbanned, or how do I do this? And it's like, I don't know the answer to that question because I'm not a part of that subreddit and I'm not an admin, right? So those are the important things to kind of really understand. The last thing I'm going to say is that it's really important that you understand that, and I see the comments like, I'm telling you, if you don't understand these distinctions, your ride on Reddit is going to be like a day, and then you're going to be done. And then it's not going to be fun to try to figure out how to unravel all of that. We have, we did one time, and I'll post it. I'll go ahead and post it in here. That way you can have something fun to kind of look at. This is always a fun one. This is a campaign that I did for TikTok, the #1 most hated app in the world. And it was the #1 most hated app in the entire Reddit community when I did the campaign. And by the end of the day, they were giving me awards and being complimentary, and we turned the entire brand around. So point is if you don't understand these things about Reddit, then you're going to go in a way that's going to get you in a lot of trouble, and it's going to make your opportunities for success extremely difficult. When I say don't spam, everybody has a different idea of what spam is. So let's talk through it a little bit. On Reddit, spam can be anything that the subreddit wants it to be, right? So posting unrelated off topic, submitting too much overall, just submitting too many times, right? Even if it's really good content, you submit 6 articles that are all different, they have nothing to do with you, and they're totally relevant to the subreddit, can be seen as spamming. Submitting the same content across Reddit. I'll look at a profile all the time and see that article is all the same on 50 different subreddits. Clearly, you're not there for a real conversation because you can't do that across 50 different subreddits. Trying to subvert subreddit rules, right? If they say you can't submit YouTube and you do a redirect URL so that you can submit YouTube, then you're not going to end up in that community very long. Going against the community tone. If you just come in and start making an opinion that is totally counter to what the community is interested in, and you just keep kind of going against the grain, you will find that you can sometimes be banned for spamming. And posting but not commenting. Oddly enough, commenting is really what matters on Reddit. And if you're just posting and not commenting, people see that as a big sign that you're a spammer, or spammer, or just not there for the right reasons, or not of value to the community. Call it what you want, but it's just you don't belong, right? If you're not following these rules. And the last thing is self-promotion, right? They don't really run with the whole 9-1 anymore, but Reddit used to run on a policy that for every one URL that you submit about your own content, then you need to submit like 9 things that is not your content to have a good balance so you're not self-promoting. Now, a lot of that changes when you have, oh, well, the last thing I'll say is that the rules are defined. Almost every single subreddit in the sidebar will have rules. And when you read through that, you're going to see a very specific description of what spam is to that subreddit. So these are really important distinctions, right? And then spam has been evolving. You have AutoMod, which is basically a script run program for moderators to say, hey, if this person doesn't have this age, or if this user doesn't have this much karma, or any of the other parameters that you can code into it, then AutoMod will automatically moderate all the submissions that are coming into a subreddit. So you have evolving spam prevention with that. You're seeing contributor quality tiers, where they're really looking at your overall actions, your karma, whether you're registered, you have a legit email or not. All of these different factors are applying you with a contributor quality score. You see ban evasion filters that have been launched using AI to determine when people, a lot of people would say, oh, I don't care if I get banned, I'll just make another account. Well, now they're starting to tie it together and figure out which accounts are linked to other accounts so that they can stop people from subverting bans by using different accounts. And then they're constantly evolving AI moderation. So it's definitely something that they're able to catch and they're watching for. And you just really want to avoid going in and trying to spam or kind of game the system in any way. So look, you're ready to get started on Reddit. You want to see how you're going to kind of have a brand presence, be on there, have success. Let's talk through some of the things you really need to consider in the first, say 30, 60, 90 days that you jump on Reddit. The first thing I tell everyone is you have to become a Redditor. You have to get involved, start engaging. And so the first thing I would tell you, even if you're a brand, is find things that you're passionate about. If you love growing peppers, then find a subreddit that's about growing peppers. If you love, like I love Rick and Morty, so I'm in the Rick and Morty, subreddit. So wherever you're passionate, I highly suggest you get in. And why? Because you need to start, engaging. You need to have something to add. You need to test out Reddit's features. You got to start understanding the cadence of commenting. You'll start to understand some of the language that's kind of unique to Reddit, like TLDR and OC and just all these other things that are going to seem very foreign to you, but are important to understanding how you can be successful in Reddit. So get in, find some passion, start testing out features. You're not focused on ROI, so you're not worried about if something gets visibility or not. You can start building up some karma, which we'll talk about here in a second. Karma didn't used to be near as important, but over time has become more important. And you'll also have an opportunity to start aging your account, which also has some aspects of quality when it comes to your rights within subreddits based on AutoMod. Building your karma. Karma is a reputation score. It's, let's dumb it down really simple. It's up votes and down votes and having a score at the end. It's a little different than that, but let's just say that that's easy enough for you to kind of get the grasp of it, right? Your karma is, are you accepted on Reddit, or are your submissions not really popular and so they're constantly downvoted? This is important because there are Reddit limitations. Like you're going to go into a subreddit and you're going to spend a lot of time researching it, crafting it, and then you're going to submit a post and you're going to see it, but nobody else is going to see it because it's actually moderated. Or you're not going to see your post and you're going to be like, why is my post not showing up? And then you're going to submit it again and it's going to keep getting moderated and you're not going to get through. So you definitely want to start working on karma. Identify low restriction subreddits. I say this as like, there's certain subreddits where it's like all you post is a picture of your cat, right? So if all you have to do is post a cute picture of your cat, that's like a low restriction subreddit where if your cat's cute, then you're going to get a bunch of karma. You're going to start having some interactions. There's a subreddit called advice, right? If you just go in and people have questions that you have something to offer, then you can give some advice. And a lot of times, advice is well voted up because, as long as it's not horrible. Now, do it well, but do it naturally. And what I mean by that is that, like, take the time to think about what you're doing and find the right subreddits, but don't try to game the whole karma growth aspect. For one, it quickly kind of diminishes. Like as soon as you start getting a lot of votes or there's a pattern, then all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore. You can get yourself banned. And ultimately, you have to make sure that you're not getting negative votes, right? It's not just positive, it's the balance between positive and negative. So you want to do it well. One of the ways I would tell people is comment on upcoming posts, which are like what they call rising on Reddit. So if you go in and you look at us, even the whole, all of Reddit or all the ones you're in, all the subreddits that you're participating in, and you sort it by rising, then you can find rising means that this thread is likely going to go to the top of the subreddit. And if it gets to the top of the subreddit, it's likely to go to the front page of Reddit. And there's a lot of people that aren't logged in. There's a lot of lurkers, and getting to the front page of Reddit is the maximum amount of exposure you're going to get, right? So it's definitely something, that you would love to see happen. And one of the ways that you can get your karma up is if you're commenting on posts that are going to go to the front page. They're likely to get more visibility. Your comments are likely to get more visibility. So it's one way of kind of gaming, but not gaming, just being strategic about how you go about it. I would highly suggest you comment first. Everybody's going to want to post. Everybody's like, hey, you can sometimes get more than one post from a subreddit if they're really, really popular. It just depends on how many you've got subscribed and how old the content is in the other subreddits and so forth. But there tries to be, they try to have a general mix. Comment first, submit later, right? You're going to want to submit, but I highly suggest you comment first. Why? Because when you submit something, you are the focus of attention. Everybody's looking at your particular submission. With a comment, you're kind of in the mix. You're kind of involved with the overall thread. It's a little easy to learn what submissions get engagement. It allows you to kind of understand what kind of content will work in Reddit. And it allows you to understand the interest and the opinions of the community. Like, just because the community is about a certain topic doesn't mean that they believe what you believe about that topic. You need to understand what the general interests are. What way do they kind of go when they're looking at this? You want to make sure you're providing value. It's very important to make sure you take the time to really just craft a good comment. People on Reddit hate laziness. Like, if you're just being lazy, there's sarcasm that's different than laziness. But if you're just not taking the time when you put your comments together, they're going to kind of give you a hard time about that. Be a person. Even if you're on here as a brand, act as if you're a person. One of the things that helped us with TikTok is that we talked like a person, and they quickly said, hey, we're not saying we like TikTok, the brand right now, but we are saying we like this person representing TikTok. And that really changes the narrative. So definitely be a person when you're on Reddit. Submitting, you've got to the point, you're ready, you've learned about the subreddits. What are you going to do with submitting, right? Search domains. You can actually put site colon in a site domain inside Reddit search, and it will show you where all that content is currently on Reddit. That's a great way to find out where your content's showing up. And if you look at the engagement, it can tell you where are people interacting with your content in a positive way. You could put competitors in here and find out. You can also find your topics. You're here to solve user journeys, right? People have questions, they have interest that they're looking at. So definitely go in and look at the topics for the subreddits that are going to match what topics you want to talk about. How active is the subreddit? It's really important. You can see how many people are members. But a subreddit that was really popular a couple of years ago could still have 20 million members, but have 10 people that are active on the site at any given time. So you can see an active number there as well. Compare, figure out what's really active. It's more important to be in front of an active audience than it is to just be in some community that has, a fake, kind of a false number of how many people are actually going to see your content, right? Review the subreddit rules. I cannot explain this enough. If it doesn't match to what your goals are, to find another subreddit. Because you're not going to subvert the system. You're not going to get one by on them. You're not going to figure it out, right? If a subreddit says you cannot submit links and you want to submit content as a link, then that's not the right subreddit for you. So really pay attention to the rules. I really suggest looking at the subreddit moderators to get a sense for their tone. How are they commenting? How are they interacting? What are they submitting? Knowing what they're doing and how they're doing content will give you an alignment on how successful you might be. I mean, the moderators are the ones who are going to help you out when your content has problems. They're the ones who are going to decide whether they remove your content or not. So knowing what they're going to like and what they're going to support is beneficial to your success. Evaluate the tone around your topics. I mentioned this before, but just because you want to talk about a specific topic doesn't mean that everybody else is going to agree with your point of view on the topic. Right? Just because it's technology or it's like Ferraris doesn't mean that everybody's going to like the model of Ferrari you're trying to promote, right? So get a sense for what the tone is around those topics and just be conscientious of it. Create your own subreddit. This is the one caveat to this. If you're submitting and you don't really want to, go through all of this, or if you're not planning on posting outward, then you might want to create your own subreddit. So let's talk about that a little bit. You can create a topic or a brand subreddit. I will tell you right now, I highly suggest making a subreddit if you have a brand, because really when you look at the impact of search, of Reddit impacting search, Reddit impacting SGE, Reddit impacting AI, right? You're looking for depth of content around a topic, right? That has multiple different viewpoints within that thread. These are the threads that are going to have the most value. When you're just having sporadic conversations, it's not as easy to get that. Whereas if you have a brand subreddit and you can do kind of smart posting and bring in engagement, you can get a thread on your subreddit that has a tone that you want it to have, that ends up having thousands of comments. And that's likely to be a contender for influencing search, influencing AI, influencing all these other things. So I highly suggest, looking at a brand subreddit. I would suggest using your other channels, your other social channels, your email channels to let people know that you're on Reddit. There's a lot of people that are Redditors out there. That's an opportunity for them to come in and join. It's also an opportunity for you to get some growth on your subreddit and engagement on your content. Pick the right moderators. You definitely want somebody who understands Reddit. Definitely. The worst thing brands do is come on and start arguing with Redditors. I don't agree, that's crap, or taking an attitude or getting defensive. I mean, it's like a challenge. You want to get 1,000 comments on a thread, piss off the community. You're going to get 1,000 comments. They're just not going to be the kind of comments you want. Don't neglect the rules and the auto mod functions. Take the time to think about your subreddit and craft rules that allow you to manage a good subreddit and create auto mod elements that really help you manage the subreddit. The experience that people have there, even when you're asleep, is important for your brand, and you definitely want to have that under control. Accept critical comments and posts. This is tough for a lot of brands, but if you have something that pops up that's not positive, don't just ban it. Don't just take it off. Don't delete it. Don't ban people. Take the time to engage. There's a difference between somebody having a problem and being critical and somebody trolling. There's difference, and everybody understands that difference on Reddit, and that's okay. But when somebody has a legit criticism and you treat them like a troll, you're going to get trolled really hard. So the point is, you have to be open. You have to be engaging. You can't just treat people like crap and get away with it. Be a person. You're going to hear me say this a lot. Be a person. People detect the tone. Don't paste little, well, this is how be a person. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's totally sucky. I would feel bad if that happened to me. Let me see what I can do. Like, I always tell people, be the Redditor who talks the company into letting them have a Reddit account, and they're really a person who's going to help you out within the company. That's kind of like where I've always seen like the magic really work within Reddit. The right content. You've got your subreddit, you're ready to go, you figured out where you're going to submit content, you're ready to start submitting. What's the most useful thing for that subreddit? Whether it's your own subreddit or it's somebody else's, take a time, you've looked, you've researched what is a conversation that is going to be useful to the subreddit. What can you add? What can you bring value to? Where can you bring in your expertise and really help that community so that you're getting a positive reaction, you're getting a lot of experience, you're getting a lot of positive brand engagement. That's really, really important. Existing topic support, right? Like, definitely get in there and support like what you can with the content, right? When you're in there and you can go in and offer your support, you can offer like some sort of a solution as a company, or even, as that person from the brand. That's an amazing way to like really pick the right content, right? I like to go in and I like to sort a subreddit by top content. That means it's content that reached the top of that subreddit at some point, right? And then I always sort it by this year. That shows me these are all of the top articles or contents or threads or pictures or whatever the media is. This is all of that top content from the last year. And then I start looking through the comments. I start looking at who are the, the standout users. This gives you a sense of the community. It starts giving you an idea of what's going to work in this community. What are they likely going to say about it? It seems like it's a lot of work, but everything that's good takes work, and Reddit definitely takes work, but it's definitely worth it. Next thing I'll tell you about is the review moderator submissions. Look, You're picking content. You want it to be successful. Again, I mentioned earlier, moderators are going to look at that. If they look at that and they're like, well, I think that's good content. That's a website I like. I used to say, what sites are they submitting? What kind of topics are they posting? Well, great. Get them engaged. Get them interacting with your content. Build a rapport, because that's going to help you a lot in understanding like what content was going to work. Consider your members' needs. If you're on the community and you own it, anywhere, just think about what they're really looking for. What do they need? What do they want? You know, a lot of times we get into our own subreddits and we think, well, it's my subreddit. I'm just going to post a bunch of promotional stuff, or I'm just going to say whatever I want. That's fine. You can do whatever you want. But if you really want to be successful, think about what your members really need. Lastly, consider search AI impacts outside of Reddit. Reddit is solving search queries. Search is acknowledging that. AI is acknowledging that. This is not something that's going away. They're not making the bets that they're making because they just feel like it one Saturday. There is a reason for that. So when you're picking content, think about what kind of visibility you're hoping to have. What do you want people to think about your brand, your products, your conversations? Picking the right time. I mean, you want initial engagement. Listen, content on Reddit really runs for about 24 hours, right? And it works, you know, they don't openly talk about what their algorithm does. And I'm sure that it's had adjustments, and I'm sure that there's things that they've done to it since they closed that file. But Reddit always ran on a logarithm algorithm, right? And that basically means the first 10 votes are the absolute most important. The next 100 votes are as equally valuable as the first 10 votes, but not quite as valuable individually, right? And then the next 1,000 and the next 10,000, and it continues like that. So the volume of votes doesn't have an equal amount as it grows, but the first 10 votes, super important. However, don't try to game it. Don't make a bunch of accounts, try to vote your own content up. It never works. It always ends up getting you screwed. And then you end up having your other accounts all banned. It's just not worth it, right? But that initial engagement is important. Time works against your visibility. It's about 24 hours. Now, some content people, I see something that was up there for a day and 2 hours. Yeah, if it's super popular, it's going to stick around because the voting outweighs the decay from time. But visibility is impacted by how much time your post has been there. There's numerous tools out there to analyze a specific subreddit, and will tell you when's the best time it's most active, when stuff like that. So you can just search them. There's plenty of them out there. But genuinely speaking, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern time is a pretty good time. It gives you a full day of the most active. Even with 50% being international, you're still getting a good chunk of the overall 100% in this time period. So ultimately, that's what I would say most of the studies and most of my experience kind of have pointed to. After you submit, do not. I always think of the REI subreddit AMA they did, and the guy like answered these questions and talked, and then he walked away, and then there was like 3,000 comments, like totally by his ex-employees ripping and current employees ripping apart the company, and then he came back like 6 hours later, and I'm sure that's like a nightmare scenario, right? It ended up getting published all over the web. I mean, CNN covered it, everything. It was a nightmare. Now he came back and answered those questions, but when you post something, it's live for 24 hours. You need to monitor your post. You need to pay attention, and you need to engage. If people are commenting, vote on the comments. Don't get into the mindset of I'm going to game this. If the comment genuinely is a good comment and you don't want to vote it up for whatever reason, just leave it alone. If the comment is trolling or it's not a quality or you don't agree with it, then vote it down. But you can control the visibility of what comments are seen based on the voting of those comments, right? And that's how they get sorted over time, right? You have the control to change that, but that's the default, right? Respond to comments. When people are commenting, engage with them. The whole point of you being there is to engage. So engage, right? Comment, but don't be defensive and don't overdo it. Don't get carried away. Don't get crazy. Like, you don't have to comment to every single comment, and you don't need to go crazy with it, right? Just think about what you would do as a normal human being. Like, a lot of natural, normal, sociological standards apply at Reddit, right? Just be smart about it, engage with it properly. And that leads us to our last poll. And I'll go ahead and just read it while Heather, you pop it up. That'll just be easier. What would you like most out of Reddit? Now, I'm asking this question because I'm really looking forward to doing another webinar. This was kind of an overview because so many marketers are going to rush to Reddit. And I genuinely know what you're wanting, and I know why you're going. I just don't want to see you fail before you start. I've seen too many brands fail before they start, and I just want you to do well. So I'm going to go into some deeper, podcasts in the future, but what do you want out of Reddit so I can kind of gear that content?
I'm
And
going to throw that up on the screen. It's a little bit of everywhere. Well, we got 50% now saying I want to gain visibility in search AI overviews. Not surprised there.
So
But yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and jump on, Heather, just because I really want to get Leah and Chris out here to answer questions for you guys. So I definitely want to kind of drive further, but that doesn't surprise me. I mean, definitely people are looking for the future. They're looking towards the future, and I think it's pretty clear to most people that Reddit is a part of that future. Reddit ads is another way you can have success. I'm not going to dive deep into Reddit ads because I have Chris and Leah here. They are experts on Reddit ads. They're from Reddit. They manage Reddit ads. So I'm not going to really get too much into this. I'm just going to show you. I really liked this Noosa one that I saw. I thought it was a clever way of kind of like, engaging with the audience and having some fun. I love it when people do campaigns that are fun on Reddit. I think it's great. I will tell you a little bit. Promoted posts, auction ads, managed campaigns. Managed campaign, these are the three kind of general areas that you can kind of do ads in. Managed campaigns, typically 10,000 or more quarterly. Or if you have sensitive categories, then you need to have a managed campaign. Here's the sensitive categories. And just so you know, like takeovers for the site, when you're looking at different takeovers, those are under managed campaigns as well. Again, Chris and Leah are going to join us here in a second, and they're going to be able to help us out a lot with that. I think I just had an extra slide in there. I personally think your ads should be like posts. I think you should talk to Reddit like Redditors every time, no matter whether it's an ad or whether you're doing a thread or whether you're putting media in. It's still in their community. They're still seeing it. You don't want to be the one that's like disruptive in that environment. So definitely take the time. Consider opening comments. A lot of people don't. I always think it's fun. Like, screw it. Like, just engage with the audience and have fun with it. Like, it helps you learn. It helps them engage. It's a positive experience if you do it right. Choose your targeting carefully. Broad and custom allows you a lot of flexibility, but just be careful how you're targeting so that you're getting in front of the right audience. Don't just go crazy unless you're a brand that really is targeting everyone. Just be conscientious and work with the ad teams. Every time we do strategies with our clients and we're going to do ads, I reach out to the ads team and I work with them every single time. It's just insight that they have, understanding of data. They have different numbers than you can see, and they can help steer you and guide you. And sometimes they can help with introductions and being able to facilitate ads. So with that said, let's bring in Leah and Chris, and let's have them join the conversation. Thank you all. If anything I can do during the Q&A, I'd love to answer any questions. If I saw so many people put on there that they are looking at the SGE kind of search interaction. Like, I have a way to pull up reports that can show you your brand's kind of impact and what's coming and what's the difference and how your opportunities and what amount of traffic is going to Reddit for your brand. So if you want any of that, reach out to me. We can work on getting something together for you. But otherwise, let's welcome Leah, let's welcome Chris, and let's talk about Reddit.
It's nice to have you both here. We have so many questions. There's no way that we're going to be able to get to them all. But to get us started, so Leah, Chris, thank you. They had a few questions that they wanted to just share with you all, because these are questions that they get asked a lot. So I'm going to start with one of these, and then we'll get to some of our audience questions. First question is, what is your advice for a first-time advertiser getting started on Reddit? And since we closed out with ads, I think this is a great place to start.
Hello, thank you for having us. Greetings from the New York City Reddit office. Chris and I are very excited to be here today. And I would say our advice for a first-time advertiser is that no matter what the size of the advertiser, so if you're a large-scale advertiser like a Coca-Cola or a mid-tier advertiser like Noosa Yogurt, actually that campaign was run out of our team in New York. One of my favorites too as well, Brent, or an SMB advertiser. I saw an example for a landscaping advertiser. There's an opportunity for you on Reddit. And so the advice that we give is you wouldn't necessarily walk into a dinner party and start announcing, who you are without really listening and starting off that way. So our advice would be really engage and try to listen to the conversation that's happening on Reddit before you actively start interacting with everyone. So that would be our first advice. But then the second piece to that is there's so much community and conversation that's happening on Reddit. So ideally, we would work together to determine the type of interests that in communities that you would like to target. And from there, we can work together to craft a campaign and work together on the creative. But net, our advice is when you're on Reddit, it's best to listen before actively coming in and shouting out your large message.
Absolutely. All right. What's our next one? I just want to say that was I really 100% agree with that. As somebody who's not a Reddit, employee, I would say I 100% agree with that. You should absolutely. And sometimes you even see small, like you can do it in small community. They have like different towns have their own subreddits. I've seen people do like the town fair. They like sold tickets and they ended up selling like 5,000% more tickets than they ever sold before. So there's so many different use cases.
All right, so a question from Nicholas. This had the most votes, and we had another one from Dominic that came out right between it. But what's the best way to link to your website? And Dominic was asking about, how do you do it without spamming or violating terms of service? So I know we went over this a little bit, but a little bit more deeper maybe.
Yeah, sure. I can take this one. Hi, everyone. Really pleasure to be here. So this is an interesting one because there's two ways we could do this. One is you could go the advertising, put the promoted post on, and with different objectives, we can drive traffic, awareness, or performance goals, right? That's one. But two is if we went the organic path, that's really kind of what Brent said is looking at the subreddit rules, understanding how users are posting there, and then also adding the value. So, let's say you're in the financial services community. And someone is saying, hey, I'm really looking for a new 401k platform, or I'm looking for a new platform for me to go trade on and whatnot. That could be a good example of you to come in and say, hey, we're the team behind X. Here is a link to our platform. Here's all the benefits that you'd be able to take advantage of. That then is you're adding value to the community versus just that straight up shouting. And that would be, and depending on the rules, right, that would be much more welcomed than if you just created a post and said, hey, go to my link, because then again, that feels very inauthentic and also likely is not the basis of the community. Now, if there's a community that is just like, hey, post useful links around X topic, sure, okay. But majority of them are not that.
And I just threw that link in there. There is something for absolutely everyone on Reddit. Like that's the thing you really have to like grasp, right? There's frugal male fashion where people, and there's all kinds of these sites where people are like, hey, give me a coupon code. Hey, give me a discount. There's places like I forget what was it. There's frugal male fashion, right? Where you can go in and you say, hey, I just got this shirt. What's a pair of pants that would match them? And all you want is product points. You don't want a real conversation. What you're hoping for is a bunch of people will give you good ideas and then you can pick what you want and buy it. Those opportunities are there just for you to sell. So this idea that you can't sell and you can't market on Reddit is just not true. It's just that you have to know what the audience wants.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So I think that's a great segue to this question. Does Reddit offer analytics tools to understand the audience?
Absolutely. Yeah. But I'll let you talk about it, Chris. Go.
Oh, yeah, sure. So we recently rolled out, and I think in our plug, we have Reddit Pro, where it gives brands the ability to take a look at a little bit of social listening, kind of understand, hey, where's my brand being mentioned? A little bit of understanding on what the context around that is. And then that's, again, working with us to help you take advantage of that. Again, from Leah and I's perspective, we mostly just work on the paid side. So that would probably translate for our teams. And how do you take advantage of this moment? What are the right communities to advertise to? But we do offer that. We also have some ability internally to do some social listening as well that we offer to some of our larger clients. But yes, we do have those tools.
Now, in your subreddits, you also have some analytics, like you have like your traffic, you have uniques, you have page views, you have different device information. So you can go into your own subreddit and you can look at how things are performing. I'm still trying to get Reddit Pro. I haven't quite gotten it yet, but I've from looking at some of the early articles, they also have trending data. And they have a number of different areas to kind of tell you more information about your community. So there definitely is some tools. Now, understanding an audience in general that really you can get from like searching online, and you can find, because Reddit for a long time was open source, and a lot of people put energy into like just analyzing pages. So you can go in and put a subreddit into some of the different sites, and there's like 10 or 20 of them, and they'll tell you like, this is the topics, this is the time of day, this is, it'll give you some basic information, but you're going to struggle, to get, unless you own a community or you're a moderator, then you're not really going to be able to get another community's stats very easily unless they happen to share it.
Yeah, one thing you could also do too is filter for every community allows you to filter for different views. So it's like Brent talked about, hot, rising, top. Yeah. What you could also do too is filter for top in the last however months, and kind of get a sense of like, what were the most upvoted posts? What was the context around that? And then also how often people are posting in that community.
All right. So I'm going to take an SEO question, and then we'll circle. I'll find another PPC one for you, Leah. So do you think that as SEOs, SEOs recognize the value of Reddit, or is it going to be flooded with too much content, not enough answers? Brent, anything here?
Yeah, can I jump on that? I definitely, do they understand and recognize the value of Reddit? Oh, absolutely. And 100%, like behind closed doors, the number of VCs, the number of major brands, the number of, people that kind of were like, yeah, whatever, Reddit a year ago, they're all in on Reddit right now. When you look at the engagement stats, I ran Purple's Reddit account for a long time, and that has been unmanaged for 3 years. I can still pull up, I can pull up the and I was just checking the stats. That's why you can hear me clicking, because I'll try to be quiet. Sorry. But you can absolutely, this subreddit that we worked on has 2,000, I think, members, and it wasn't a huge member thing, but you have to remember there's a lot of people who just lurk without joining an actual subreddit. It's getting about 90,000 visits a month right now from search, from everywhere and that's just one single subreddit. I have another subreddit that I operate that's got 1 million members, and that is seeing, well over that. I was trying to get in and look at it, but I think it's close to about 200 and something thousand visits a day right now. I think about 7 million visits a year, broken up. So you can definitely see, where things are kind of going. And now, will it become flooded with too much content? Not enough answers? I don't think so. Again, Reddit is, I could spend the rest of the time, but I want to make sure I answer other questions. Let me just say that Reddit is very aware of this potential problem. They are taking a lot of strides to combat it, and that Redditors are extremely good at figuring this out for themselves. I've yet to see a community that hasn't been able to suss out, people that are paid for, people that are like, I'm a moderator, but I'm getting paid by this company. They figure it out. I wouldn't worry about the saturation on Reddit, because the user base is there to kind of basically moderate it themselves. Even outside the moderators, every single individual user, the number of reports on content I get as a moderator, I don't hardly have to do much, because my users do it all for me. But yeah, SEOs are smart. We'll see.
Okay, so we've seen a couple questions about ads, and one of them was what's the best way for SMBs to get started? And so this one goes a little bit more in depth, but is advertising on Reddit valuable to SMBs? And I know that you talked about this. Do you want to dig a little bit deeper, and what's a good way to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, at the highest level, advertising on Reddit is valuable to a variety of businesses and a variety of verticals. So no matter what vertical the advertiser is in, whether it's like a CPG advertiser, retail advertiser, pharma, tech, you name it, we're seeing success on Reddit, and it's valuable because of all the rich conversation that's happening on the platform. So no matter who the advertiser is, they're able to take advantage and essentially insert themselves when properly listening into conversation that aligns well with their brand. So for a landscaping company, we're able to interest target. And so interest is essentially, when you are on Reddit, what types of communities are you engaging with? So are you engaging with gardening communities, outdoor communities, and all of that roll up to interest group? And from there, as an advertiser, you can go in and say that I want to target this interest group, and therefore you can insert yourself that way. And then from there, as Chris mentioned before, there's a number of different buying types. So whether your goal is awareness or you're trying to generate leads, there's a way that you can purchase that way on Reddit as well.
Awesome.
Perfect. So so this is a question that we get asked, and we'll look at this maybe from like a leadership perspective of how to get buy-in from your company, right? How do you get people to understand the platform strength, especially when they're social media crazy, and they want to put efforts into TikTok. So, if you were talking to somebody and you needed to tell leadership, hey, this is the place we should be, what's the best way to do that?
I can tackle that if you want, but I'll let you guys go.
No, yeah, I can go for
Yeah.
it. So I think the way that we really look at it is, depending on the industry, like I'll use finance again, right? I think what's the beauty of Reddit is, and I think somebody had asked a question about anonymity, so I can add this to that, right? So if you go to the personal finance community, a lot of the comments you'll see are, hey, I just inherited 50 grand. I don't know what to do with it. Any advice? And I think that, again, with the anonymity, you wouldn't post that on your Facebook feed saying, I just got 50 grand. But with Reddit and the anonymity, you would. And that's where the trust from users comes of, A, they felt comfortable posting it, but then also they're trusting the answers because they're authentic and they're people that's not paid for by anyone. It's just, here is our best advice, take it or leave it. So when we kind of translate that over to the strengths of Reddit versus other platforms, it really goes back to that both community, the context, but then also the trust that users have in our platform of other users. So that's where I would put us at a difference between TikTok, where if we want to get our message out and we want to, find passionate users who are discussing things, who are in their consideration phase, Reddit is a really good place to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and I would just love to throw in that, like, there's entertainment versus like searching for answers and searching for engagement and searching to learn or problem solve or make a decision, right? Very few interactions on TikTok are really about reviewing a product and having an interaction. What do you have? Somebody telling you all about this product, and oh, by the way, they were paid to tell you all about this product, and it just doesn't have the authenticity as having a conversation with regular, average, everyday people. And the great thing about Reddit when it comes to the strength is that when somebody says something even extremely well thought out from one point of view, somebody else is going to equally come in and say something completely different from a different point of view. And then you get the long nuance of the discussion. And then you find the nuances that resonate with you, right? Like, well, what if you only sleep on your side half the night and you keep your temperature at 79 and you leave your window open? Well, you're going to find something that tells you, okay, this is the right selection for that then, right? Where you can't get that on any other social site. And honestly, I always tell people, like, storytelling rules marketing. Where storytelling is happening is where marketing happens. And you're not storytelling when you're not engaging, you're not having a conversation, you're not getting recommendations when you're just watching a video. It really, you can see this kind of trend backwards because we realized that this is what people want when making a decision, whether it's to learn how to do something, purchase something, find new things. They want this engagement, and it doesn't happen anywhere else on the web other than Reddit. So, that alone should be enough. And if not, then we'll talk again in a year when you're trying to catch up.
We're basically at the top of the hour. There are so many good questions in here. And so do we want to, Leah, Chris, do you want to take one more maybe, or you ready to go?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. So I like this question from Catherine. Are there any successful nonprofit advertisers on Reddit? Any that you can think of off the top of your head? And if not, then Catherine, we can get back to you on that.
Yeah, I would say we should get back to you. I know there were periods of time where we had a lot of nonprofit advertisers. So let us get back to you with some concrete examples on that.
I will tell you one nonprofit advertising you can do, and you guys can confirm if you still do this. You used to be able to request to have your subreddit advertised on the sidebar for free. And and sometimes they would do that. Are you guys still doing that, or do you not know about that either?
We'd have to get back to you on
Yeah. So no worries. No, I totally understand. Yeah, definitely there's nonprofits doing ads, right? It's just a question of whether or not they're getting discounts or not, but definitely I see it all the time.
Yeah. So one last one, targeting Reddit ads, what's the key difference between other ad platforms? So differentiator and,
Yeah. So in terms of ad platforms, okay, sure. I got it.
Chris, you were just talking about where it follows you. I think that's like a huge.
Yeah. So when you target a interest group or even a community, essentially what we're doing is we're targeting the user, not the community. So because we have a high logged in, logged out ratio, or there's a ratio between that, we still want to be able to follow that user if they're logged out. So based on their intent and their, visiting a community, or if they're logged in, they're upvoting, they're commenting, we'll then follow you throughout. And in terms of the best audiences, that really depends on what the target that you've given us. So a lot of advertisers will say, hey, for this certain product, it could be a phone, we want to reach this one group of users for this one message, this other group for another message. And then we'll help you put together a list of, here are the communities, the interest groups that make the most sense based on all the data that we have internally. And that's typically how we would then structure it. And then once you ran it, we'd then be able to see like, hey, what's resonating, what's not, and then we can do the optimizations. And sorry, the reason I got caught up on the ad platform is, we do offer the ability to target both desktop and mobile or separate. And again, like it depending on what kind of engagement or what kind of essentially conversion that you're looking at, we might then make a different recommendation, right? Like if for you it's to sign up for, again, go back to finance, like to sign up for a new financial service, likely that would be done on the desktop. So we might use mobile to do a lot of awareness and consideration, and then do much more of the, more lower funnel right on the desktop.
Excellent. All right, well, perfect. All right, that puts us at the end of time. So
I just want to throw one question out there. If anybody wants to reach out to you guys and they want to talk to you about running some ad campaigns, where can they go to find you guys?
Yeah, they could email us.
So if you email us at redditforbusiness.com, our team will get back to you.
Perfect. You stole my question, Brent. Tell the people where to find you, but that's okay. That's okay. Brent, and we'll include follow-up information in the email that you get. Brent, tell the people where to find you in case they're looking for something.
Oh, I don't know. Just search for me. You'll find me. I mean, BrentCsutoras.com is kind of an old website. OGS Media is what I'm working under right now with my partner, Bartosh. And so, you can always find us. We're not super hard to find.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for Chris and Leah for joining us at their first SEJ webinar. Brent, nice to have you back in the expert seat. And with that, we're going to let everybody go. Have a great day, and we will see you at the next webinar. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.